I'm actually here on a mission tonight. I want to try and change your perspective. I hope that you will leave here tonight with a more cosmic perspective than perhaps you entered. This is something that Arthur Clarke had in abundance. Visiting his home in Sri Lanka and looking at all his telescopes and all of the many projects that he was so enamored of, he had this larger view. He saw ourselves in a bigger picture than most of us do during the day. So, I'd like to invite you to think about here and now in a larger perspective, in a larger context. So here, okay, it's really simple. We're here. We're here in the Sydney Harlan auditorium. We're here on F Street. We're here in Washington, D.C. And from low Earth orbit, we would understand ourselves as being here on the eastern seaboard. Since 1968, when Bill Anders took this image of Earthrise as he was coming around the limb of the moon in Apollo 8, we've been able to understand ourselves as a whole world floating in space. And a few years ago, I hope you got the memo, the Cassini spacecraft, which was studying Saturn, turned around and looked homeward and saw us here. At the end of that arrow, there's a little white dot, and we're all on it. So we sent a memo. We hope you went out on the lawn and waved to Cassini during this selfie. But this is an amazing image of where we are in space. And before that, as the Voyager 1 spacecraft was leaving the solar system, it turned around and looked home and saw this pale blue dot caught in a beam of light and dust. And that's us. We're here on the edge of a very large galaxy where our star, the sun, is only one of 400 billion other stars. And no, that's not a real picture of the Milky Way. Nobody can get outside and take that picture. That is a picture of a galaxy that we think looks very much like our own. And of course, that galaxy is one of something like 200 billion galaxies in the observable universe. And this beautiful image from the Hubble Deep Field shows us those galaxies in abundance. Each of those points is not a star, it's a galaxy full of hundreds of billions of stars. And you'll note that some of those points are smaller and fainter because they're farther away. And that reminds us that because of the finite speed of light, as we look farther away, we look back in time. And so we now have to think about now, right? Now, 13.8 billion years of cosmic evolution following the Big Bang. We are in an era of stars and galaxies and planets that is far different than the universe was earlier in its evolutionary phase. So this idea of time, all right? And where do humans trace their origins? Well, we trace our origins not just back through the centuries of our families, and not just back through the millennia of our architecture and our art and our many different experiments with governance, not just back through the millions of years since humans branched off from the great apes, not just back the 2.4 billion years that Earth's atmosphere has been perfused with oxygen thanks to the labors of photosynthetic algae. And not just back to the origin of the solar system, 4.5 billion years ago. But back a few 100 million years earlier, to a cloud of gas and dust and molecules that was polluted by the emissions from stellar explosions, supernova that left remnants such as this beautiful modern supernova remnant, remnants that polluted the molecular cloud with all the stuff that makes you, you, and all of us and our world around us. Because the calcium in your bones, the iron in the hemoglobin molecules of your blood, they were all fused, they were all cooked up deep inside the core of a massive star that exploded, leaving behind these remnants, these pollutants for that molecular cloud, which was to condense into the sun and the planets and our solar system, just as this current remnant will influence the cloud in which it lives, and that will collapse into future generations of stars and planets and perhaps life. Because it's really true that you and I and all of us are intimately connected with these long ago times and far away places. Carl Sagan told us, and he was absolutely, completely right. We are made of stardust, and it takes a cosmos to make a human. Now, it's taken scientists a millennia to figure out this pathway from the molecular cloud to life as we know it on this planet. And we are curious to know more. We want to understand why we're here. Where specifically did we come from? Where are we going? And of course, who else is out there? So I've spent my career on this search for extraterrestrial intelligence. And I'd like to say that it's given me an opportunity to talk to many audiences like you. And I think that SETI has something very important to do, even before, or even if we never detect a signal. Because if you think about it, and think about life beyond Earth, then it's like holding up a mirror to all of us on this planet and saying, you know, compared to something else out there, you're all the same. You're all Earthlings. And it helps to trivialize the differences among us. And it's really important to do that. It's really important to get the whole world involved in this search for life beyond Earth. Because if we learn to cooperate on that venture, then that builds a very strong framework for global communication, global cooperation on these other huge challenges that we face. Global climate change, water security, food security, poverty, all of these challenges that we need to find solutions for, and these challenges that do not respect national boundaries, these problems that have to be solved globally. And that's why I think it's so important to have this larger perspective, this cosmic perspective, to truly see ourselves as Earthlings and move forward as if we really meant it. So my last word actually belongs to Caleb Scharf, astrobiologist at Columbia University. And Caleb reminds us that on a finite world, a cosmic perspective is not a luxury, It's a necessity. So I'd like to give you a little homework assignment. All right? When you get back to these wonderful mobile devices, I challenge you to go change your personal profiles so that the very first thing about you that you say is that you're an earthling. And then, damn it, go act like it. Thank you.